Welcome to Almost Here, Round the Corner Future Technology Podcasts with Richard Jacobs. Future technologies poised to transform our lives for better or worse are the focus of this podcast. Almost Here means these technologies are now here and starting to be used, or just around the corner, from Bitcoin to artificial intelligence, 3D printing, blockchain, virtual reality, and more. Coming to Dallas, Texas, September 14th, 15th, and 16th, 2018, the Blockchain and Future Tech Expo. This is going to be a gigantic conference of over 5,000 people. We're going to be talking about blockchain and its applications. We're going to be talking about quantum computing, cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, and several other future technologies that are poised to and actually changing our lives as we speak. Here's why you should attend. As you may know, early adopters are the ones that investigated and profited from things like the gold rush in the 1800s, from the dot-com boom in the 1990s, from the internet boom in 2005, from the smartphone explosion in 2007, from the real estate boom that ended in 2008, and of course, from the Bitcoin boom that started in 2012. Early adopters act now. They don't wait till later. They go out west first. In their covered wagons, they find the biggest gold nuggets. If you consider yourself an early adopter and you want to find the biggest nuggets, then you owe it to yourself to attend this upcoming conference. Blockchain is going to affect how we control and store our medical data, how we send money around the world, how we bank, and more. But artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and cybersecurity will play a pivotal role in our lives as well. And that's why our next event, September 14th to the 16th at the Dallas Convention Center, is going to have not only 5,000 plus attendees, but will showcase blockchain, AI, cybersecurity, quantum computing, and more. You want to get in on the coming gold rush of future tech and opportunity as an early adopter. Don't be left out. To register, go to bftexpo.com. That's blockchainfuturetechexpo.com. Thank you.
Hello, and welcome to Future Tech Podcast. This is Juliet Lamar, your host, and we have with us today David Callender. He is the CEO of IP Gold. Welcome, David.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Why don't you start us off by telling us a little bit about IP Gold?
Well, simply put, IP Gold is a digital asset monetization company. So most of the digital assets we work with are IP addresses. So similar to real estate. We buy large blocks of IP addresses, okay, which everybody needs to connect and run all sorts of services on the internet. Most of the services that you're used to, the Facebooks and the social media and the websites and all the wonderful services we all want to access require IPs. And a lot of the marketing services that are done online for billion-dollar companies over the last 15 or 20 years also need large amounts of IPs. So again, similar to real estate, we buy large blocks of IPs, we subdivide them into smaller blocks and distribute them all over the world. We then run a set of services and a few strategies we have on them to build up their value, their quality, because a piece of land, for instance, is just a piece of land until you clear cut it, put a piece of property on it, build a nice piece of property, market it to people, sell it, lease it, etc. And we basically do the same thing. So we build a set of services on it that our customers are looking for. We then lease it to our customers through various different phases. And then every couple years, we take a look at those assets and see if on the market they're meeting the number that we want to sell them for, and we either sell them or we continue to lease them through our existing or new customers. That's basically what we do. We monetize and maximize the monetization of digital assets.
So you're basically real estate agents for the web.
Yeah, you could say that. It's funny. Someone actually said it earlier that we were, real estate for the internet, and in that sense, that's what we are. Funny thing is, they're not building anymore. About 5% of the global supply of IP addresses that are used to run, services on the web mostly are left. and that's dwindling every day. So they're becoming more and more valuable. The more that you have, the more money you're going to make because they're going to be more desirable for the next 15, 20 years.
Now, is there a difference in, I guess my question is, I know there's a difference in it, but what is the upside to leasing instead of buying the IP address?
What's the upside from somebody like like one of our customers versus buying it?
Yeah.
Well, first off, buying the IP addresses isn't cheap. And the second thing is that the typically when someone leases it, they lease it for a particular service. Okay? And there are about, most people can come up with 5 or 10 services that they might run on top of an IP address. But we've come up with about 30 or 40 with a customer base that will basically take those IPs and use them. So they can buy them in the open market if they can find them. The smaller amount of IPs, the price can be as high as $30, $35 an IP. We can buy them in very large quantities at much smaller prices. And at the same time, we have 30 or 40 services that we run across those IPs for different customer sets we have. So for them, they don't keep the IPs necessarily for a long period of time. They might cycle them through every 6 months or a year, or sometimes every 3 months. And what we do is provide those services to them for those 3 months, and then we have a bunch of other customers who will use them for the next 3 months, the next 6 months, the next 9 months, even up to 3, 5, 10 years.
And what kind of services are you referring to when you say that you provide services on the websites? What kind of things are you implementing?
Well, so anything that you do online requires an IP address, okay? And a lot of those services, so for instance, search engine optimization, search engine marketing. Now, to build a good search engine optimization, search engine marketing farm that allows you to market effectively, which companies are always looking for, requires what we call the 1,000 points of light, okay? Which means you may have to be coming from many different places for the search engines to basically see that you are getting the frequency and reach out into the organization, into the general internet, okay? So you're building your own infrastructure, if you will, from a marketing perspective. And it really works very well the more disparate and different IP addresses you have. On the other side of that, if you want to watch your Hulu and your Netflix when you're overseas, like where I am now, you need some IP addresses, okay, to do that, to anonymize yourself from where you're coming from. If you want to have just a normal proxy to anonymize yourself, or a virtual private network to feel more secure when you're online, you need a lot of IP addresses to do it right, to provide your customers the security and the confidence they feel that we're going to have a secure network. Social media marketing is all done using lots and lots of IP addresses. And I mean, I could go on and on, the number of services that need IP addresses and need them rotated, every few days, or need lots of them. And at the end of the day, the simplest one is that there are many, many, many growing cloud providers and companies that need IP addresses every day and can't get them because the companies, what I call the quasi-governmental companies that control the allocation of IP addresses around the world, they're all so limited in the amount of IP addresses they have left that they've limited every company to only a specific amount of IP addresses that they can basically own under that company. So they need to find other sources to get IPs from. So we have many, many companies that call us every day looking for IPs to expand just their network services, to expand having a new customer on the network, to expand having new servers for customers to buy. The list goes on and on and on.
Yeah, I can tell it's a super broad amount of things that you can offer and that people need. Not everyone needs the same things.
Right.
So what really sets you apart from other companies that might be doing this?
Well, again, so the difference is, I've been working in this industry for 30 years. I've been working in it before there was an internet. I'm an old telco guy. And, people used to say, what separates your telephone, which sounds the exact same as the guy down the street who's doing the exact same thing, or AT&T? And the answer is, it's a combination of constantly growing and understanding the different things that the IP addresses can be used for, not getting pigeonholed into one, two, or three things, which tends to happen with other companies that tend to do this work. They tend to find a niche and they just really wedge into that niche. They go after that niche, and then they might find another one when that one stops giving them money, and then another one. We actually go the other way. Instead of trying to go completely deep into one niche, we go pretty deep, but we go very wide. We constantly look at new services and new products that the customers are looking into, that the customers want from us, to be able to provide to them. So I think our secret sauce is that we have a lot of different services that we can provide on these IPs, and a lot of ways to grow the value on the IPs, where typically guys in the industry, you'll go to them and they say, we only do this, this, and that. So we're a little bit more dynamic, a little more well-rounded in what we can provide. Even though we all may very well provide the same thing, which is IP addresses, we can provide a lot more value on top of those IP addresses.
Absolutely. So when someone is coming to you and they want to rent and lease some IP addresses from you, how quickly can they get set up? Can you walk us through that process?
Well, I mean, it all depends on what the customer is looking for. We have services, through our various, owned partners and subsidiaries and groups we work with, where a person wants one IP for their web surfing privacy, for a proxy, and that can be set up in a matter of minutes, right? Then it goes all the way up to customers that come to me that say, I need 1,000 IPs from 100 different data centers in 5 markets, which takes me, a couple of weeks to set up, or a week to set up. So it all really depends on what the customer is looking for and how complex the setup is for them. I just had an individual come to me and say, look, I need for a network that he was building, he needed to be in 12 different data centers, and it took me, a week. But then there was somebody that came to me the other day and says, I need, 5 different IPs on one server so that I can, connect to it and proxy for my various other servers to keep them secure. And that took me 3 hours. So it all really depends on the volume and the complexity and the diversity that people want. One thing we found out here is that nobody wants vanilla. They all want Rocky Road and, Rainbow Crunch. So,
a lot of my tech savvy friends, they'll use proxies or different IP addresses and things to try and get done what they want, especially when they're traveling overseas and whatnot. A lot of times they can do this service for free. What is kind of the argument for paying for it instead?
Well, with free services, it's always the same thing. You get what you pay for. Free legal advice, free business advice, you get what you pay for. And while on the surface, over time, they all tend to look pretty decent and pretty well, you have to ask yourself, what is the person providing the IP address getting out of it? I mean, they're not you're going to be using their bandwidth, you're going to be using their IPs, you're going to be using their infrastructure all for free. No, what most people don't know is that those guys are collecting data all the time, okay? They're collecting, to do it, they collect an email address, they collect content information. And a report just recently, a couple of reports actually have come out in the last couple of years that have started to look into VPN services and how insecure a lot of them are, and particularly the ones that offer IPs and services for free. Their security tends to be rather lax because the cost of having that security and the bandwidth associated with it is far more expensive than a free IP is. The other thing is, when you take a look at free VPN services, they tend to be restricted in terms of the type of services you can connect to. Okay, so a guy says, I'm going to use a free IP or a free proxy to connect to Hulu and Netflix or some content that he wants to watch from his home country overseas, and he finds out that after a day or two, that free IP doesn't work anymore. Or it never worked in the first place to Netflix, but worked fine to Hulu. Okay? The one thing you get from a paid service is a guarantee that if you're paying, it has to work. if you're providing a service to somebody for whatever reason, the service has to work, or the money has to get refunded, or the IP needs to get changed. Guys that have free IPs, they're like, oh well, go find another one. So again, you get what you pay for. It's there, they're there, but you get what you pay for.
Exactly. And that makes sense. I mean, when you look at it from that standpoint, the amount of effort that you are taking to chase down these new IPs if they stop working or if they only work for one service and you have to have multiples, the amount of time you're putting into that, you have to weigh that with the cost analysis of what you're providing. And the cost of privacy, really, you don't know for sure what they are taking from you.
Unfortunately, no.
So IP Gold has a token sale going on. Is that correct?
We do. We're currently in our public ICO. We have a funding event for. We're offering 13 million tokens out of a hard cap of 20 million for our ICO. With bonuses, and that's going to go on until the middle of June. Right now, we have extended our bonus periods because we're dealing with some elongation of our integration with our platform partner CAMSA out of Europe, but it's going well, and but it can always be better. So we'll be up for the next 40 days or so.
Excellent. And what type of currencies do you accept? What kind of coins?
Well, right now it's Ethereum. So we're rolling the currencies out due to wallet integration. So right now it'll be Ethereum and Bitcoin, and then it'll be NEM, and then the CAMSA CMS token, and that is specific to CAMSA, and it's been doing pretty well, holding its own in the market. We're happy to say that when the launch of IP Gold was announced on the 26th, their token went up 33% in the market. So obviously somebody liked this. So that was good. That was good to see. So we basically the standard coins, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and then NEM will probably be near the end of the week, and CAMSA the CMS token at the same time.
Oh, very very nice, very nice. And is there a minimum buy-in or a maximum?
Well, there's no maximum. The minimum buy-in is $50 simply because we want everybody to get the opportunity to take advantage of the token sale and also take advantage of what the things that the tokens offer, which we think is definitely unique in this business. Our token, we are an asset security token. Okay, so we are raising money to basically buy IPs and to fund our operations to scale an already operating, proven, profitable business. Okay, we actually already operate. We already know exactly what we're going to do with the IPs when we get them. There's nothing we have to build. There's no market we have to figure out. We have customer contracts already asking us, and we actually have provider contracts already willing to sell us the IPs. So basically, we're raising money in the ICO to do that, to run the operations, and also to integrate the blockchain and smart contracts to be able to manage all of the assets on the blockchain and manage the security of those assets. So our particular token, while it is a security token, what's important is that our smart contracts, instead of applying an IP address to a token like a lot of utility companies do, we want people to share in the entire revenue of IP Gold. So what the token gives you is it gives you, in essence, security that when you bought the token, okay, from us, it goes into the group of tokens that we have, and then we offer every quarter a 20% gross revenue share to a token holder. Okay, and on the back end, we have a third-party fiduciary that we use to secure the tokens in our smart contracts and to secure the tokens along with the IP addresses in our smart contracts. So, for instance, if for any reason, and nobody ever knows why, if we go insolvent or something happens to the business, this fiduciary is actually allowed to take the IP addresses, to turn around and sell them in the secondary IP trading market, and turn around and pay back the token holders that are listed under the smart contract. Okay, so we have an actual guarantee on the asset side, which nobody is offering right now at all. So the 20% quarterly gross revenue share and the asset downside protection are two very unique things in our token that we offer when we give people IPG tokens.
Absolutely. I mean, the security of knowing that you're guaranteed to get your money back is, yeah, like you said, unheard of in this world currently.
Well, it's primarily
fantastic.
because we basically had a decision to make. Everybody was talking about utility tokens, and typically from a utility perspective, you are pre-buying into something. Okay, so you would be pre-buying into using the token on a platform to pay something, even though the platform had to be built, which might take 6 months to a year. And then most of them had a moratorium that said you can't use the token for the first 6 months we have the platform online. We only accept cash, right? And we looked at that and said, it doesn't make a lot of sense. And in our business, the biggest issue they run into is that some IPs that you're going to acquire will perform better or worse than other IPs. So if I were to attach a token, like a utility token, directly to the asset purchased with those tokens, or with the money from the investment, you holding IPG might not perform as well and get a revenue share as well as my IPs are attached to my token, right? And that causes lots of problems and doesn't work. So what we decided is this is an asset security, and the way we're going to provide security to the token holder is we're going to put it in a smart contract, and we're going to use a third party, very similar to an escrow. We're going to use a third party that has in the contract, if we don't pay fees or if we, for whatever reason, go insolvent, we're unable to operate the business, that third party in the contract has the ability to go in, grab the IPs, turn around to the very robust IP trading market right now, sell them, and then turn around and look at where all the tokens are issued and pay the money back, first to the investors, then to the advisors, and ultimately, if there's anything left, back to the management. So that's our transparency.
Well, that's excellent. So I have one last question. If we have some listeners out there who might have IP addresses that they're sitting on that they would like to sell to you, do you accept people pitching you IP addresses?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you, I'm negotiating a deal right now for a gentleman that has $1 million worth of IP addresses, and that was his value that he's giving to us. And to us, money is important. It always is, because you need the money to do some operations. Unfortunately, you can't. It's kind of like doing the same thing. You can't necessarily buy a whole bunch of things with Bitcoin or Ethereum, and you can't buy anything with just an IP address. So you need real money to, you need the actual cash to be able to operate. But we definitely want people who have IPs. We're definitely open to looking at them and deciding if that can be part of their contribution to our token sale, because that's what we're getting the money for to begin with, is IP.
Wonderful. So several different ways to contribute. What is the best way to connect with you? Is it social media? Is it through your website?
We have our Telegram channel. We're on Bitcoin Talk. We're on Medium. We've got, the website has all of our channels on it at just ip.gold. We'll give you all the channels and all the information we have. We have our Twitter account. We're pretty much wherever you need to be. But it's easiest to just go to ip.gold. All the information is there, the white paper, the video, all of our FAQ, and we're on there all the time. We're ready to answer questions at any time.
Wonderful. Well, David, thank you so much for joining us and letting us know all about IP Gold and the exciting things that are coming up for your company and all the different ways we can get involved.
Thank you very much for having me. It was a pleasure.
That was David Callender. He is the CEO of IP Gold. Thank you so much for joining us. This has been Juliet Lamar with Future Tech Podcast.
Coming to Dallas, Texas, September 14th, 15th, and 16th, 2018, the Blockchain and Future Tech Expo. This is going to be a gigantic conference of over 5,000 people. We're going to be talking about blockchain and its applications. We're going to be talking about quantum computing. cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, and several other future technologies that are poised to and actually changing our lives as we speak. Here's why you should attend. As you may know, early adopters are the ones that investigated and profited from things like the gold rush in the 1800s, from the dot-com boom in the 1990s, from the internet boom in 2005, from the smartphone explosion in 2007, from the real estate boom that ended in 2008, and of course, from the Bitcoin boom that started in 2012. Early adopters act now. They don't wait till later. They go out west first. In their covered wagons, they find the biggest gold nuggets. If you consider yourself an early adopter and you want to find the biggest nuggets, then you owe it to yourself to attend this upcoming conference. Blockchain is going to affect how we control and store our medical data, how we send money around the world, how we bank, and more. But artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and cybersecurity will play a pivotal role in our lives as well. And that's why our next event, September 14th to the 16th at the Dallas Convention Center, is going to have not only 5,000 plus attendees, but will showcase blockchain, AI, cybersecurity, quantum computing, and more. You want to get in on the coming gold rush of future tech and opportunity as an early adopter. Don't be left out. To register, go to bftexpo.com. That's blockchainfuturetechexpo.com. Thank you. You have been listening to Almost Here, Around the Corner Future Technology podcast with Richard Jacobs. Subscribe to this podcast, post a review to discover more future technologies that are poised to transform our lives for better or worse, such as Bitcoin, artificial intelligence, 3D printing, blockchain, virtual reality, and more.